I apologize in advance if this video is going to turn out to be far too long, because there's a lot of nuanced things I need to go through with this review, a lot of nook and cranny details basically, because, well, truck enthusiasts are a peculiar bunch. They don't buy their vehicles based on rational choices or decisions basically. There's a lot of fanboyism going on in this segment, and I mean, that's fine. And in this climate of trucks, fortunately, you can purchase a truck irrationally, because I personally don't think that there is a bad choice amongst trucks, and I am in no way biased actually towards any of these trucks. I actually like all of them, to be honest with you, like I just mentioned. And you're not going wrong with any of these trucks. That's the most important thing that you have to understand. So, with that established, you've seen the title to this video, and that is, well, we've already purchased a Tundra actually. Not this exact one, okay, not a 1794, but my father, in fact, did purchase a 2021 SR5 with the TRD Off-Road Package. So that should be arriving within a week or two. And I'll discuss some reasons as to why my father decided to purchase that vehicle, because he actually asked me, like, what's the truck that you personally like? And, you know, he's also driven some of these other trucks the same way I have, and he too is not biased. He was also open, and we had a Ram Rebel 2019 as a loaner vehicle for about a month, and we were using that, and he liked the Ram. We also drove the Bighorn Ram, and then we also drove the 2020 F-150 Limited, a 2019 Raptor. We have not driven the latest generation of the F-150 or whatever. And I've driven a Tahoe. I know it's not the same thing as the new Silverado, but it's as close as I got. And I'll make brief comparisons with these vehicles. But with buying a new truck, you know, honestly, we didn't even care about reliability. All these trucks come with a 3-year warranty on them, so that's not really a big deal. And, you know, he was asking me, you know, should we get the Ram? And honestly, I was just like, dude, let's just get the Tundra, because I'll be honest, the reason why we chose is because it's the least amount of compromises, because we also had a 2020 SR5 TRD Off-Road as a loaner vehicle as well, and we just absolutely enjoyed it, and we found the ride quality to pretty much be identical to the Rams. And also, these trucks are heavily misunderstood by mainstream reviewers, these car magazines. I mean, it's just very unfair assessments that they make. I mean, and again, I'll touch on some of these things briefly in this review, but let's talk about what is the 1794, because we have to talk about the vehicle that we are reviewing here. So 1794, what does it even mean? Okay, that's the year in which the farm was founded, in which the now San Antonio plant resides upon, where the trucks are now made, the Tundra trucks are now made. So a little fun fact for you, that's what 1794 means, if you care to know. And I don't really care about that, but this is the top tier, top Texas dream truck, basically. You know what I'm saying? This is like fully cowboyed out here with all the badges, the floor mats, the interior, all the good stuff here. But you don't really get much of anything else other than the fact that this is a fully loaded truck with all the options that a Tundra will come with. Granted, you can also get a Platinum, which is basically a fully loaded Tundra as well, minus the 1794 attributes basically and badges. But enough of that. Let's just talk more about these driving aspects, because the highlight here is that 5.7 liter motor, and I'm about to take this thing out on the highway. Now, handling is not its forte. This also does not have the TRD package, which you could get actually. You could get the TRD Off-Road Package with the 1794. It's a rare thing. I hardly ever see it, but it is possible. Merging onto the highway, absolutely not an issue. And that's why you buy a V8 truck. And because it's a V8 truck, dude, this thing is going to hold its resale value very, very well. I mean, Tundra's always had the best resale value, but my father also knows that, 2022, they might be going, twin turbos, hybrid, who knows? This might be the last V8 Tundra you can get, so you're gonna miss out on that glorious sound. But as you saw there, it pulls perfectly. I mean, it gets up to highway speeds, no problem, but keep in mind, this does have like a 0.38 coefficient of drag, and it's not gonna maintain that speed for much longer because it is basically a big old brick. That goes for all the trucks though. So once you start approaching that triple digit speed marker, the acceleration is going to go down for sure. So something to keep in mind, but not that you're going to be doing triple digit speeds often, at least not in the United States. But out on the highway, this is another place where this truck excels at. There's not a whole lot of wind noise with it, surprisingly. I mean, it has wind noise. All the trucks in this class have wind noise because you can't get away from that fact because they all ride so high. But fortunately, Toyota does an amazing job with their OEM tires. This one's, even though it's got 20-inch wheels on, it's got these Bridgestone Dueler tires on it, and they're actually relatively quiet. Even the Tundra that we ordered, that should be arriving in a few weeks, it's got the 18-inch wheels, and it's got these Michelin all-terrain tires, which kind of have like an all-season treading to it, actually. So it actually kind of behaves like an all-season tire. So again, their tire choices are great because they remain quiet. There's not like this ridiculous humming effect. So it's a very kind of quiet truck in that regard. So now let's talk about it. This particular truck's got the 20-inch wheels on it. So I'm about to take it over to these more rougher bumps here in a little bit, but this is kind of where I'm going to start recommending the 18-inch wheel options with the TRD Off-Road. I think the TRD Off-Road package is mandatory for these trucks. I'm shocked that this vehicle didn't come with it because it's only like a $2,000 option on this thing, and fully loaded, this truck is about $54,000, which seems to be like a bargain compared to some of those $80,000 fully loaded, you know, domestic trucks. I say that in quotations, but anyway. Plus in this turn here, nice. I've noticed that the Tundras with the 18-inch wheels and the TRD Off-Road package, they absorb bumps a little bit better. So here's the thing, this 20-inch wheel setup, it is doable, it is comfortable for the most part. It actually does a better job absorbing the larger, harsher bumps than it does some of these like smaller bumps here. Like over some of these roads, it has a more jittery nature to it. Like it doesn't do that great of a job isolating out the smaller bumps. I get it, it's a truck, but if you're going to compare it to the competitors, one of the things that makes the Ram so magical is that it'll isolate out these bumps. Now all these trucks utilize double wishbones up front, and the thing is the new Rams have like a proper kind of coil spring setup basically in the rears, whereas this still utilizes like a leaf spring setup. And that's fine. They've done a decent job tuning this stuff, but the Tundras with the TRD and the 18-inch wheels, they'll actually do a better job isolating those smaller bumps as well. So that's one of the things I've noticed. But if you're worried about the 20-inch setup, it's not terrible, but it's just not as good as 18-inch setup. That's just far superior. And the ride quality, it's now far closer to the Ram. It really closes the gap between the Ram and the Tundra when you get that setup, basically. So that's another reason why we went with the setup that we did on our Tundra that we purchased. Now, handling-wise, I really do have to give it to the F-150. That is by far the best handling truck. Now, you know, what does that mean, really? I mean, people typically scoff at you when you say something like that, like, oh, who cares about a truck that handles good? Well, it's kind of a stupid thing to say because a vehicle that handles good should not be scoffed at no matter what it is. I don't care if it's a semi-truck, but that's nice. Anyway. Yeah, handling, I have to give to the F-150 with its all-aluminum body. That's not really to be disputed, but I do love the way that they have tuned this Tundra's powertrain, essentially. Now, this is where a lot of reviewers are wrong. They're not wrong, but the assumptions that they make are, because like they keep saying that this is an unchanged truck, it's the same truck for the last 14, 15, 1,000 years, and that's just not true because we currently have the 2010 Tundra, and that's what we're trying to upgrade from. And this is night and day difference between our 2010, man, because powertrain, okay, this 6-speed automatic that everybody likes to completely annihilate and roast, well, this actually does a great job. This really shifts when you need it to almost immediately because there's not a whole lot of gears for it to jump down, so that's fantastic. And just the tipping of the throttle, I mean, it just, the engine reacts almost immediately, and I love that. There's really no hesitation, no hiccups, and just every day just street driving this thing, okay, it puts down the power so well. Like from a standstill, doesn't matter, you know, you just put your foot all the way down to the floor and it just gives you all the power when you need it. So there is that. It doesn't light up the rear end or anything like that. It's not drifting, it's not fishtailing, none of that nonsense. So now let's talk about it, because you know all these other trucks, okay, they're the truck of the century, they have all these awards, they're JD powered, they're all this stuff. why is it that when it comes time for us to put our money where our mouth is, even though I say that all these trucks are great, why is it that we chose to purchase a Tundra over the competitors when I say that they're so good, they ride well, they handle great? Why is it that we continue to choose this? Well, there's a lot of Tundra owners out there, and they're very happy with their purchase. You know, they love driving their Tundras, and some of the owners even like to make YouTube videos about it, but they don't really quite do a good job of explaining why they enjoy driving their Tundras. They keep defaulting to their reliability argument, and that's the reason why they purchased it. Again, reliability is just icing on top. The reason why we purchased the Tundra is because we like driving the Tundra, actually. So now, how is that? How is that possible? Why is this possible? That's because, yes, reviewers are right. The parts used in this vehicle, drivetrain, suspension, transmission, all this stuff, it is antiquated for sure. But with their Kaizen mentality, this is a Japanese company. They have continued to make incremental changes, and that's why this feels far superior, why it feels night and day compared to our 2010 Tundra. Even though this motor is old, even though this transmission's old, they've tuned it in a way that it's satisfactory. The suspension, even though it's not as advanced as some of the domestic trucks, it still actually rivals something like the Ram with the right setup with the Tundras, 18 inches TRD off-road like I mentioned. And because they've managed to close the gap between these other vehicles, this thing pulls off a smoothness with all these old school parts. So you have like the old school charm of driving these vehicles. Like, it feels leisurely, it feels comfortable to drive, it feels easy to whip around, but it does it with all these older parts basically. That's the best way I can describe it. So it feels oddly satisfactory to like daily drive a Tundra compared to some of these other vehicles. Again, those other vehicles are great. You're not going wrong with those other vehicles, but I will say this just feels mechanically satisfying to operate basically. It's like driving an old Lexus LS430 compared to like one of these newer luxury cars basically. Like an LS430 pulls off that smoothness and that elegance with engines, not with hybridization, none of that stuff. It pulls it off in a more mechanical fashion, whereas some of these newer cars, they're hybrids now. They got electric steering racks, you know what I'm saying? It's just a more digitalized smoothness, and this one still has like that mechanical smoothness, and that's the best way I can describe it to somebody. But again, like I mentioned, I'm not saying that the Tundra is the best truck in the world or anything like that. Again, it's just the truck with the least amount of compromise. It still rides great. The turning circle is fantastic. It's got the turning circle of like a Civic. I'm not even lying about that. It's incredible. But there's definitely flaws here. I mean, like, I was surprised. Okay, this vehicle does have 20-inch rims on it, right? Usually a vehicle with lower sidewalls for tires typically will translate into a better steering response, and this just hasn't really. It still has like this deadness in the steering in the center anyway, and that hasn't disappeared. But surprisingly, the 2020 Tundra we tested with the TRD Off-Road and the 18-inch wheels, even though it's got smaller wheels, something about the suspension setup, it actually kind of reduced the on-center deadness of the steering rack. It's kind of weird. So again, that's just another reason why I recommend going with the package that we opted for instead of just going with a Tundra without the TRD Off-Road Package. So again, that's one thing I noticed. All the other like domestic trucks, they have tight steering racks. So that's something I noticed. There's not really much of a play in something like an F-150 or like a new Ram or something like that. So again, that's something I noticed. Again, it's okay. It's not a detriment to the driving experience. It actually adds to the leisurely nature of this Tundra. Actually, these Tundras are best suited when you're not. I mean, it's fun to floor this engine, I'm not going to lie, but again, it doesn't promote like this hardcore driving, and again, it's a pickup truck. I wish more people understand that, but this is best used as a leisurely driving experience, as a more mechanically sound driving experience. So that's where it feels satisfactory when you just kind of whip it around casually. So that it makes for a very nice daily driving experience, basically. And I keep saying domestic or American trucks in quotation marks. At the end of the day, I think this is the most American truck you can buy. It is built in Texas after all, and I think it has like the most amount of American parts used in it, unlike some of these other trucks. So maybe that's changed now with maybe some like the newer trucks. But as of right now, I mean, you are legitimately supporting the American economy and American jobs when you do purchase something like this. So there is that. But back to the truck, back to the driving aspects of it. Another thing I liked were the brakes. The brakes are great. Stops on the dime, not an issue. Doesn't squeak, doesn't, shake about or anything like that. It pulls strong. It pulls accurately. It doesn't fishtail, and it brakes in a straight line, no problem. High-speed stability is excellent, even closing in on triple-digit speeds. This is an excellent driving experience. And what's funny is, you know, this truck gets criticized for being like 15 years old or whatever, yet a Porsche 911 gets praised for being like 50 years old and being unchanged and all that stuff. So I'm loving the hypocrisy. I'm loving the double standards that people set with some of these vehicles. It is great. It's like people have a free license to just completely roast some of these Japanese products. And it's just a complete shame, honestly. Like, I really don't understand it. Because driving wise, this thing really is up there with some of those other domestic trucks. So with that established, let's go ahead and let's talk about the interior, because the interior is another place where these vehicles get completely annihilated and roasted upon. And I just don't really see the point of it. Okay, so this interior space, it is the most solid interior out of all the trucks, man. I mean, I cannot believe how well put together this interior is. Like, you touch up against some of these panels, it is so damn solid. It is very impressive. I mean, again, it's actually one of my most favorite interiors, and mine is the 1794 stuff with the orange brown leathers and the wood trimmings. Even the normal Tundras carry over this solidity to them, and that's just great. But what does everybody say about this thing? Everybody says that these trucks are too old, it's been outdated, all this stuff. I mean, it's got the Apple CarPlay and Android Autos. That's basically standard. You got the 8-inch screen right here. Standard, you get the 7-inch screen, but this is the 8 inches. It reacts well. It's the exact same screen that you get in basically all the other Toyota products, essentially. So it works well, it responds well. It's got the touchscreen on it as well. I will say there's a lot of glare coming through, so that's the one thing I don't like. I wish they would improve upon that. You can't even see the button sometimes, so there is that. But for the most part, it's easy to use. No problems there. It's got navigation, all that stuff. It's also got the JBL audio system, 12 speakers. So is that worth it? It is a noticeable upgrade over the standard Audio Plus systems or whatever, because in the SR5 that we ordered, because it's a Crew Max, it is a 9-speaker setup. If you got a double cab with the Audio Plus, you get 7 speakers, and the base audio system is a 6-speaker. This one isn't some like awe-inspiring audio system, but it is notably better. It does have enough bass and all that good stuff. It's not a bad system. It's pretty good for a truck, so I don't mind that. But what I keep coming back to this, the thing that impresses me most is the solidity of this cabin, how nothing creaks or rattles. This thing's got about 3,800 miles on it, press miles. It's a press vehicle, obviously, for testing uses. And it's so damn solid, and it's going to continue to be this solid 4, 5, 10 years from now. That's what's impressive about it. And yeah, with the 1794, you get these special seats here. They are actually heated and cooled, so I do like that. But you got the 1794 stamped in there. You got like these suede inserts. It is a pretty cool seat. It's by far the highest leather quality ever used inside of a Tundra. So it's cool. I like it. It's got a nice look to it. And I like how the leather is also being used throughout the cabin, on the doors, on the dash. It is a nice touch with the stitching. And I do like the wood inserts. They do kind of contrast well with the orange leather, so that is pretty nice. But it's kind of glossy. It does kind of look fake. It might be fake, who knows, but it's not a bad touch. At least it's solid and, you know, put in there nicely, so that's good. You got 2-way memory seats here, and you only have 1-touch auto windows for just the front 2 windows here, and they are not double pane glass either, which not many of the trucks are, I don't think, or any of them. So that's something to keep in mind. But it is kind of stupid of them to not give you 1-touch auto windows for all 4 windows. Kind of a weird thing, especially in this fully loaded luxury truck. You do have automatic headlights. And another con I've noticed, you know, all these trucks kind of have like the same blind spots. They all kind of have like the same basic shapes, but this A-pillar right here and the side view mirror is a pretty big blind spot. You do have to stay on top of this, or else like entire cars can be swallowed up between these two things. So something to keep in mind. But this truck does come with all the safety stuff as standard, you know, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert. You get all that stuff. The rear view mirror is another thing that can be enlarged. This rear view mirror is far too small, so that's one thing that they could definitely improve upon. But another thing that I really like about these Crew Max Tundras is that you can actually put down the entire rear window down with the switch right here. So that comes down completely. Now in other trucks, you have like this small slit within the window basically, and that just opens up a little bit, but this entire glass comes down. And I think that's bespoke to Tundras only. Crew Max Tundras, but also in this segment. No other truck can do that. So very practical. I'll talk about some other practical uses here in a little bit and why the Tundra has a little bit of an advantage. But everything else is great. You know, the climate control, totally simple and totally separated from the screen. Love that. Again, heated and cooled seats, a great touch right there. You know, everything is great to touch, to use. The buttons are nice. The knobs feel great. Everything feels great. It's by far like the nicest fit and finish, build quality, all that good stuff. Now, the Ram interiors are amazing. I also like the Nissan Titan interior as well. The Tahoe/Silverado isn't bad for the newest generations, but you have to get the more upper trim levels of the Chevy products for it to feel nice. But otherwise, Chevy kind of tries to do what Ram does. It's trying to kind of be like this comfy luxury truck, essentially. So there is that. The F-150 interior, I haven't seen the newest one, but at least the 2020 Limited that I tested out, I wasn't really a huge fan of it. There was a lot of cheapness going on with the 2020 F-150 interiors, whereas this, everything feels good in here, tight, easy to use. I really don't understand the roasting and the critical comments that this interior gets from a lot of the reviewers. It doesn't make any sense to me. No, it doesn't have like the backup trailer assist things and maybe a few other sensors and crap, but honestly, dude, I feel like if you drive a truck, you probably already know how to do all that stuff anyway. You also have USB connectivity below. You can turn off the traction control, have some fun there, parking sensors. So all that stuff, you got that below. 2 big cup holders, well, 3 pretty large cup holders there, so I do like that as well. You got some more wood trimmings right here for the gear lever knob. That's pretty nice. You do have a little sequential sport manual mode thing if you want to use that. Again, just put in the auto mode. It's best in the auto. And the steering wheel, you know, you are gripping grain here. You know, you're gripping onto that plastic glossy wood thing, and it's eerily, strangely satisfying to grip onto, so I do like that. And you have some buttons right here to kind of help you navigate through the gauge cluster. So the gauge cluster is actually very basic and easy to understand, but you also have a little helper screen in the middle. And within that helper screen is my average MPGs, another place where the Tundra gets roasted, and I don't understand why. I'm averaging about 11.7 MPGs. You might be like, oh my God, this is awful. Here's the thing, in all the big V8 trucks I've ever tested, I've been getting 11, 12 MPG in all of them, even the EcoBoosts, all this stuff. When you smash on these trucks and you drive them aggressively, you will get poor MPGs. And it's not like you can get a 4-cylinder version of these trucks either, like a 4-cylinder Chevy or something. Those get even worse MPG than the V8s, because at least the V8s, you can drive them more mellow because they have like that low down power, you know. This one's got 381 horses, 401 pounds-feet of torque. So you don't have to floor it everywhere, but like you want to floor it everywhere. So the 4 cylinders, like a smaller engines inside of a large 56, 5,700 pound trucks, you have no choice. You have to floor it everywhere, and you're going to get terrible MPGs in a smaller displacement engine in these larger trucks. So trucks will never get good fuel economy unless they're just fully electric. So that's something to keep in mind. But other than that, storage space continues to be amazing, both in the center armrest with the 1794 embossed inside of it. It does look amazing. Hella space in there. And there would have been a lot of space in the glove box, but it's filled up with books in there. So there's that. And the door pocket space is also amazing. Now let's talk about this CrewMax with its rear seating space. So the rear seating space is epic, of course. I mean, we already know this. All the CrewMax pickup trucks are gargantuan in the back, so that's not something you should be surprised about. They are all studio apartments in the back, so something to keep in mind. That's not an issue. You have your own vents back there as well. But if you also got a double cab Tundra, you're getting a great large vehicle. This is why we've been using a Tundra for many years. Without having to step up to like a heavy duty F-250 2500 series 3/4 ton truck, you can get a double cab Tundra, a 6.5 foot bed, and still have a ton of space inside that double cab basically. I mean, it is the most usable double cab setup in the half-ton segment by far, and that's why we have a Tundra essentially. But my father doesn't really need a double cab anymore. He's always wanted a CrewMax. He's not really taking on as many like large jobs anymore, so he can kind of get away with the smaller bed. But the reality is, when we had the double cab Ram, yeah, we were able to make it work, but dude, there's hardly any space to sit back there. It's not nearly as large, and even the bed seemed a little bit more constricted in the back, not by much, maybe like an inch or two, but it just felt smaller. These other trucks like the F-150s, the Rams, you know, as much as we love them for working purposes, they were not the best. So something to keep in mind with these trucks, man. The double cab Tundra, by far the most usable truck. And I understand some people buy these trucks for pleasure, but honestly, like, there is a working intent behind a truck. I mean, that is the core design of a truck. The double cab, you know, the Toyota's free from gimmicks. They just make a nice big truck, and that's mainly because Toyota does not offer a heavy duty truck at all. So they make their half ton much larger than the other domestic trucks. That's just something I noticed. So keep that in mind. It's just a very usable truck, and when you get the double cab, you get the maximum tow rating of 10,200 pounds. Otherwise, the way you see this, it's about 9,800 pounds. Now let's talk about the bed and end this long review off. So the bed is 5.5 feet long, so it's not bad. The spray and bed liner is mandatory. There's no ridiculous poles or hoops that you can jump through like the Ford products. So it's just a normal bed. You just hop on the tire, you go in there, you hop inside the bed the way we have done for the last 3,000 years. There's no hula hooping to get inside the bed. And I just noticed that the Tundra beds just seem to be like a little bit wider, a little bit taller. That's just something I noticed. I could be wrong about that, but it just feels the most usable. And the fact that the entire rear window can fold down, or I'm sorry, not fold down, like roll down, it just makes it very practical. So overall thoughts on the Tundra, like I mentioned, it's the truck with the least amount of compromises, both in driving and also if you want a proper, solid working truck, the Tundra with its size is great. American trucks, they really come into life when you opt for a heavy-duty truck. Like their prices are in the $50K range, but again, you're not going to get the long-term reliability and the resale value like you're going to get with the Tundras. I mean, Tundra owners, you can switch out of these trucks like pretty much every year and not really lose any money. In fact, you might even make some money. That's how good the resale value is on these vehicles. So something to keep in mind, you're never losing with these trucks, whether you lease them, finance them, whatever, and it's also a satisfactory driving experience. And I just wish more reviewers would acknowledge that, but somehow people just keep roasting these trucks, and it's just like, you know, take my advice or don't. I don't really care. I mean, it's just my humble opinion after driving, I don't know, like 300 cars, but you can throw my opinion in the garbage. Go buy whatever you want, experiment, do whatever you want. But when it comes time for us to put our money where our mouth is, the Tundra is the truck that we continue to purchase for all the reasons I've mentioned. It's been a long review already, so if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section. I'll be sure to answer them, and leave your thoughts below. If you're an owner of any truck, I don't care, let us know how it's held up for you. Help out some of the other, potential buyers in the comment section. With that, thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.